Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Laura, and I like to make stuff. And lately, I have been obsessed and really into quilting. Um, I guess this notebook that I have is going to be my quilting notebook. But I had gotten really inspired by my roommate's color palette, and I was interested and was trying to play with figuring out the bear claw. Way off there. I might do another one at some point, but he's really into blues and white and then a little bit of gold, and so I wanted to do that as a quilt, but then as I was looking up patterns, I decided to add a little bit of red too. So what's drawn out here is a block that I found on Pinterest that is called, or they called it the Christmas Star. So I drew it out and tried to see what it would look like put together. And I was kind of liking it, so I decided that I wanted to try it. So stick along, or stay if you want to see the process. It's not really going to be a tutorial, but yeah, I hope you get inspired to make stuff too. So these are the fabrics that I got. I originally started with just the blues and a little bit of gold, which I picked up from Joann's. It's not, I know it's not the nicest fabrics, but I mean, I also didn't have a lot of money. I just want to make quilts, man. So the gold is beautiful. Um, and really, really is super metallic. The red I picked up from a different fabric store that I really like. It's a little small shop. I mean, it's not a small shop, but it's locally owned. So usually I try to go there, but for this, um, why was I going to Joann's? I don't know. It was a while ago that I got this fabric. Like, I've been inspired to do this for a little bit now. And I really want to play with specifically half square triangles. So there may be more half square triangle quilts to come, but I thought that these colors looked great together. It was a variety, and I don't regret my choices. The blue speckled reminded me a lot of the painting that we have in the living room that an old friend had made for him. So, ironing here. I don't know that my process is the best for any of this, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Um, but I really wanted to try so hard to see if I could get my skill level a little bit improved. I learned that something about the rulers that I'm using. So this is mainly made up with a 5.5 square ruler thing. I'm using the 2.5 to like do long strips, but I discovered that when you do a half square um, and you sew it, that it'll end up being the same size as the square without the orange bits. And so, because some of this was going to be just the squares and not half squares, I realized that I needed to cut them out without that seam allowance for the half square. And I'm sure this is like super obvious to other quilters who maybe have more experience than I do, but this is a journey that I'm on, so please join me on this. I'm very proud that I figured it out, okay? Just let me revel in being proud about it. I figured it out. So I'm doing that with the gold, and I'm doing that with the red. And one of the things that I learned from this quilt project is that I might need to start camera testing some fabrics not to necessarily because I care how it looks on camera, but because the camera can show me things that I don't see in person. I can often get bogged down in the little, the smaller details of fabrics and not the larger details of fabrics. So I thought that the red was going to pop a lot more, but because there is white in this, it winds up dulling the red somehow, if that makes any sense at all. So in the larger scale version of the quilt, the red doesn't really pop the way that I thought it was going to as like a red red. Just a note, if you were going to make this exact same quilt, maybe use a different red fabric. But the reason I got this red fabric is because this pattern that's on this fabric is like the pattern that my roommate has been into, I guess, because it's on the curtains and it's on a rug and it's like it's several places throughout the house. So I figured it would be a good addition to a quilt for him, which is actually also making me really excited. Like I got to make something that I was inspired by somebody else to make rather than like just an order taker, if that makes any sense. Um, and just for reference, although I'm not, I wouldn't, I'm newer to quilting, as in it was not my main hobby for the past like 10, 20 years of like being really into hobbies. I've been knitting since I was like 7, and so my experience with making things for other people is people want their specific they want to be the creative outlet or like give the colors and whatever, and to me that's the most fun part, especially when I get to try to um, dilute an essence of what I see in another person, because I feel like also people don't see all their good glowing bits of like, all that stuff. So anyway, just to point out here, because I know that I want these to be half squares, I am cutting them to the full square ruler that I have. So I included the orange in my measurements there. I hope, I'm assuming that other crafters are watching this video, so hopefully you understand what I mean, where it's like, no, no, no. The reason why I'm doing any of this is because I enjoy the creative process of designing a project and figuring out the colors and the layout and all of that. The moment that's gone, I shut down and I can't make the thing. It's so hard, and maybe that's the ADHD. I do have an ADHD diagnosis, so maybe that's part of it. But yeah, as soon as it's like I want gloves in red and white stripes, I don't want to make them. Not interested. I have the yarn. I love you, but they're in a corner and you're not ever going to see them. Oh. And then I feel guilty, and then I do it based off of guilt, and I hate the project, and it's awful. So, hopefully you all understand. Um, because I'm not using I'm just going off of like a block that I found on Pinterest. I didn't really have measure like yardage that I knew I had to have in order for this quilt. And if any of you have an easier way of like figuring out yardage that you would need for a quilt, I was trying to do the math and I think I was doing it wrong because I was designing a different quilt that I want to do in the future. I have like 10 quilts in my head that I want to do now. Anyway, I was doing the math, and it was like telling me I needed like 12 yards or more, so I don't think that was right. Um, I'm really proud of some of my blocks here. Not all of them were perfect. which was a problem, but that's okay. I still like the end result. But I was, some of these blocks were just so like satisfying to cut and to see that they are like perfect. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. My point was that I need to figure out a better way to do math to figure out the yardage if I'm just going to be pulling off squares and making up blocks on my own. But all of that to say, I had to go and buy more fabric because I did not have enough. So, yeah. I think how much did I originally get? I got a half a yard of the gold. Gold was enough. Half a yard of the gold was fine. I got a yard of the red and then um, 4 yards of the speckled and 4 yards of the dark blue. And I wound up having to get a yard more of the speckled and of the red because of the pluses that wind up happening. So what I'm doing here is basically half of the block. So this is the top and the bottom. Those two squares are going to make up the top and the bottom of the plus that's in the center of the block that I'm making. So, but yeah, I did run out. I did not have enough, so I had to go get more. But luckily, they still had them in stock, which was really nerve-wracking. So it was actually, I needed 6 yards of, no, 5, because I got one more yard. 5 yards of the speckled blue, 2 yards of the red. Half a yard of the gold was fine. And then 4 yards of the blue was fine. Yeah, I was really proud of a lot of these points. I felt like this project was going really well. I managed to make it over the holiday. So it's made up of the two halves and then that center strip. And I lined up all of my blocks to focus on the corners of the center plus. And here it is all put together. Um, I thought that the red was going to be darker. So when I lay this out, the overall design was actually a shock to me. And some things didn't line up, which was also, it's so frustrating because I felt like I was getting so close, but overall, I am happy. I wound up I had leftover of the red and the blue, like smaller squares. So I was talking about yardage. I guess probably maybe a half a yard would have been fine, but I wanted it to be like queen size. So I felt like the border worked. I also had leftover of the center strips, and so I put them, also included them in the border. Here I am playing with different shots. Overall, I am happy with this. It does have this very traditional kind of feel, which is what I was ultimately trying to go for. I wanted to do some kind of traditional colored block, like, and design and layout. Were I to do this again, I actually think that I wouldn't have done the red, and I would have kept it to just the 3 colors. So I would have, instead of the red pluses, I would have had it be the dark blue. I think that that would have looked way better, and I think that the pluses and the gold would have stood out better. But overall, I am happy with this. I feel like I've improved a lot on my techniques, and it just takes practice at this point, right? And if my roommate's watching this, congratulations. This may be quilted in the next year. We'll see. We'll see. I have other tops to make, okay? Thank you all so much for watching, and subscribe if you want to watch me learn to quilt better. and like make more stuff. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.